What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Guys That Magic. Today we got some super cool spoilers to go over for Modern Horizons 3. So for today, it is myself, Dave, and then of course we have Shane joining in as well. Shane, say what's up.
What up, nerds?
Yeah, so we have Modern Horizons 3 going to be joining right around the corner, so we're going to be talking about some of the spoilers that came out today. Go ahead and follow us along for the rares and mythics for this video, but if you do want to check all of the other cards that get spoiled or some of the reprints that get spoiled as well, make sure that you follow us on our Instagram too. Before I go any further, make sure that you like and subscribe to this YouTube video because I know that you want to stay up to date whenever it comes to the new Modern Horizons or just Magic the Gathering cards in general. We post a ton of videos and stay up with all of that, so... The first card that we're going to talk about is Herigast, Erupting Nullkite. Ooh, wow, that is a fun name. It is 9 mana for a legendary creature Eldrazi Dragon. It is a 6/6 with Emerge. The Emerge cost is 6 and 2 red. For those of you who don't remember or weren't playing around whenever we got Emerge the first go around, it says you may cast a spell by sacrificing a creature and paying the Emerge cost reduced by that creature's mana value. It says whenever you cast a spell, you may exile your hand, and if you do, you draw 3 cards. This also has flying, and it says each creature you cast has Emerge. The Emerge cost is equal to its mana cost.
I mean, I do like me some dragons and some Eldrazi's, right?
It is an Eldrazi dragon. I think that in enough is just cool.
Yeah. No, the art is fantastic, and I love it. Pretty cool. Was Emerge good? I don't really know. I never played with Emerge.
So Emerge was pretty decent whenever it came to, what was it, Shadows over Innistrad. There were a couple of Emerge cards that were actually pretty impactful. I can't remember the name of it, but there's like a little Kraken tentacle thing that used to really annoy me. However, because like it is neat. So like Emerge does allow this thing to actually come out a lot earlier and be very impactful. And then plus like an ability for you to be able to like restock your hand is pretty nice there too, with you being able to draw the 3 cards. So I do like this card.
Yeah. Like a fun little toy.
The next one is Flare of Denial. This is 1 and 2 blue for an instant. It says you may sacrifice a non-token blue creature rather than pay this spell's mana cost. Counter target spell.
I like this one, Dave. I like this whole cycle of sacrificing to get around mana cost and free counter spells. I'm on board, dude.
Yeah, free counter spells are really good. We've gotten a couple over the course of the last couple of years. Things like Fierce Guardianship. Also things like Force of Negation. So to add another one of these kinds of cards to the arsenal, these are always really powerful. What do you think whenever it comes to this card, though? With you having to sacrifice a non-token blue creature, is this one going to be as good as something like a Force of Negation or a Fierce Guardianship? Because I know that for the most part, like we are playing these kinds of cards in Commander. What are your thoughts?
I think it's going to be a little more tricky, kind of jumping through some hoops, because you will probably need some sort of board state, and then it's not going to be just a complete free thing like we're used to. So I can see where this is going to be a little bit harder to play, but not impossible by any means. The other ones were great. This is probably going to be, I don't know, maybe a staple. I'll say it. I think this cycle will be a staple.
I'm really curious to see what the rest of the cycle does. This one I think is actually really interesting because I feel like this probably reads better than what it actually is. Having a non-token blue creature ready to sack that you actually don't mind going to the graveyard, that may not necessarily be something that you always have. So this actually might cost 3 mana for counter target spell quite a bit, in which case this is actually just worse than a counter spell.
That's true. If you're not getting this for free, it's probably worse. Or it is worse.
Up next, we have Nethergoyf. This is a single black mana for a creature Lurgoyf. It says its power is equal to the number of card types among cards in your graveyard, and its toughness is equal to that number +1. It also has an escape ability in which you can pay 2 and a black to exile any number of other cards from your graveyard with 4 or more card types among them. If you do that, you can cast this card from your graveyard for its escape cost. So kind of a recursion-based Goyf. Kind of a cool card. What are your thoughts here?
I like Goyfs, dude. And I think we've seen a lot of, like, isn't there going to be a Goyf tribal deck or something?
There is. In fact,
Yeah.
actually, one of the Commander products that are coming out with this seem to be very Goyf tribal heavy.
Yeah. I think people just like Goyfs, dude. Tarmogoyf, the staple of just, like, anything fantastic for Modern. This playable in EDH, Goyfs weren't typically that good in EDH, unfortunately. But I know they're great in Modern.
I think that this is, like, really telling of the times, and just, like, how Modern has really changed over the last couple of years. Tarmogoyf has completely fallen out of favor, and now to see that, like, we have one that essentially is going to get, like, that same kind of, like, power increase and toughness increase. This is a single mana. Like,
That's crazy.
and there's still the question of, like, is this actually going to be good enough?
It's gotta be. My brain says it's gotta be.
I don't know, because my downside with this card being is that like there actually is a lot of removal in Modern that is capable of taking care of this at this point now. And then the other piece that goes along with this too is that the reanimation on this card may not actually be all that great. If you are escaping, it means that you are going to be cannibalizing your graveyard, which means Nethergoyf is going to be coming back and probably going to be smaller than what it was the first go.
True. You're definitely nuking your graveyard to get him back out. We'll see.
Up next, we have Ugin's Labyrinth. This is a land with imprint. It says whenever it enters the battlefield, you may exile a colorless card with mana value of 7 or greater from your hand. You can tap it to add a colorless mana, and it says if a card is exiled with Ugin's Labyrinth, you add 2 colorless mana instead. You also have another ability on this card where you can tap it and return the exiled card to its owner's hand.
Pretty good if you're playing Eldrazi, dude. I get that you're gonna have to have something 7 in your hand to essentially turn it into a full ring, but game's really good if you're caring about Eldrazi.
This card is so interesting to me because I understand that like you want to be carrying. We're going to specifically look through the lens of Eldrazi. This is hinting at it with it being Ugin's Labyrinth. You see the Hedrons there, and then of course like caring about the big mana and stuff like that too. But this is really interesting to me because like if you do happen to get this thing out early and imprint, it taps for 2, but it doesn't actually help you like cast the big thing that you just exiled away. Because you can get your card back, but then this goes back to just tapping down for 1. So it's a little bit interesting. You kind of get like a double usage of that card. It's not quite like a Chrome Mox where you just like the card is gone forever. But it does have the potential to ramp you. I'm a little bit worried on that mana value of 7 or greater. There's not a whole lot of times that they think that you're going to have access to that. If you are purely just like strictly building Eldrazi Tribal, then yes, obviously, I think that this is probably just going to be like a shoe-in for the deck. But outside of that very specific kind of play pattern, I'm not sure if I'm actually here for this card.
It just seems like what you said. It seems like a card that you'll pitch the big thing early until you're at a stage in the game where you can play the big thing you pitched. And then at that point, hopefully you have rocks or land to cast the big thing. But I don't know. It seems, I think it's cool. I think I like it.
Up next, we have Phelia, Exuberant Shepherd. It is 1 and a white for a legendary creature dog. It is a 2/2 with flash, and it says whenever it attacks, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent. At the beginning of the next end step, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. If it entered under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Phelia. This is not a shepherd.
A corgi, I think, or something. I don't know what it is.
It's a very excited corgi.
It's very cute. I mean, it's a pretty cool blink effect.
It is actually a very cool blink effect. You can hit a non-land permanent with this, and also it doesn't actually have to hit your thing.
That's true. You get a little bit of a buff if it does hit your thing, but otherwise, anything.
You do also, I mean, like this with this having flash, that gives you a lot of flexibility. You can throw this thing in place super quickly and be able to take out maybe your opponent's attacker, or you could do this to one of your opponent's blockers, maybe before combat, take them out of the fray. That way they can't like use it defensively, and then boom, it's gone because this actually doesn't blink it and then like return it immediately. This comes back at the beginning of the next end step.
Right.
So I like the flexibility
yeah.
here.
If they're dead, they don't matter.
Also, that dog is just so happy to be played.
It's in the leaves. It's loving the leaf played. I don't know.
Moving on, we have Chthonian Nightmare. This is 1 and a black for an enchantment. It says whenever it enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy counters. It also has an ability in which you can pay X and energy. Sacrifice a creature to return Chthonian Nightmare to its owner's hand. Return target creature card with mana value of X from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery.
You read it out loud, and I still kind of thinking about it. So it's just recursion piece.
Yeah, this is a really interesting like recursion piece. It's interesting to see kind of Black's take whenever it comes to energy. I know that we've had a couple of the energy cards with Kaladesh and Aether Revolt, but we haven't really gotten a whole lot of energy support, at least not like in these colors. So definitely an interesting card. It's recursion. What are your thoughts, Shane?
It's recursion, but like after reading the card, I'm hoping you're playing with more energy if you're playing this card, because otherwise you're just going to be recurring something not that large, which I mean, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of things with mana value 3 or less that is probably pretty relevant to get back. I mean, hey, I don't know. I like it.
It is really weird the way that this thing is worded, though. Just like pay X energy. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
All right, up next we have Nulldrifter. This is 7 mana for a creature Eldrazi Elemental. It's a 4/4, and it says whenever you cast a spell, you draw 2 cards. It has flying, It has Annihilator 1, and it has Evoke for 2 and a blue. For those of you who don't remember, Evoke says whenever you cast this spell, for its Evoke cost, you sacrifice it whenever it enters the battlefield.
3 mana, draw 2 cards. 7 mana, draw 2 cards, and then get an Annihilator.
With flying.
Right. Or I guess you could always reanimate it and only get the draw 2 on the Invoke, and then you get the Annihilator on the reanimate. Seems cool. I don't know. Do you think it's playable? I think it might be.
It is a cool card. I would probably run this in like in one of the Eldrazi decks, assuming that I did have blue in that Eldrazi deck. I'd like the ability just like to pay 3 mana, draw 2 cards, and then later on in the late game, this could be a creature that I actually like cast. If I happen to draw this like later on. It's got the flexibility, so I'm kind of here for it on that. At the same time, 7 mana for a 4/4 with flying. It's not really that impressive. I like Annihilator 1, but even with that, I don't think this card is like super impactful.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be like a little bit bigger on the Annihilator just because of its costing 7, but I guess if you are casting this, you're not just getting the Annihilator, you're getting the 2 cards, the flying, and like there's a lot going on here, but I think I like it for the Invoke, honestly.
Yeah, I like the Invoke. Moving on, we have Winter Moon. This is 2 mana for an artifact. It says players can't untap more than 1 non-basic land during their untap steps.
I hate this already. There's so many effects that are like this, dude. This sucks.
If you're playing in a monocolor deck or like a 2-color deck, this could be really nasty.
Yeah, very much so. Are the other effects like what I'm thinking of? What is it, Winter Orb or?
Yeah,
More
Winter Orb,
expensive,
that's
right?
kind of a play on this. No, it's
but
the same mana cost.
Oh, it's the same mana cost.
Yeah, Winter Orb is 2 mana for this kind of similar effect. It's 2 mana for an artifact. Players can't untap more than 1 land during their untap steps.
Okay. A little more restrictive, non-basics. But I mean, honestly, if you're playing Modern or even EDH like you were talking about, you're probably running a ton of non-basics. These kind of effects are so mean, just playing stacks and piss people off.
Well, this one specifically has the ability to be kind of a little one-sided because if you are playing with like a monocolor deck, you're probably playing with a ton of basics, or even just like a 2-color deck, you're probably playing with a little bit more like critical mass of basics. So this does actually really punish decks that are like trying to go with 3, 4, or 5 colors without necessarily having like the same kind of downside of something like a Winter Orb, where you're hurting the entire board. This one, you're not necessarily hurting like everybody, and there's ways for you to get around it where this doesn't hurt you at all.
That's very true. The minute you said that, I was like, oh yeah, duh. Play it in a monocolor, duh. Duh.
Yeah.
Good card. Good card is bad, but good.
This is definitely a good card. I'm curious to see if this has legs in EDH, just because I know that generally speaking, most decks are multiple colors. And there is a lot that you can do with your mana base, even if you are just playing like mono or 2 colors, where you still want to have access to like a lot of utility lands. And this does kind of shut those down a little bit, but it's an interesting card. I like it. Plus, I love the artwork. Moving on, we have Wight of the Reliquary. Fun little, I guess, what happened to the Knight of the Reliquary card here. We have a black and a green for a creature zombie knight. It's a 2/2 with vigilance. It also says it gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard, and has an ability in which you can tap it, sacrifice another creature, search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle.
This is good, right? I like this card a lot.
Yeah. This is 2 mana for a creature that's probably going to be much bigger than just a 2/2. And it's a sacrifice engine that allows you to ramp.
Yep. Yes, sir. I can't find the bad here. I'm playing that for Steven, sorry.
Let me go ahead and highlight one other little positive here too, is that not only are you tutoring for a land, it doesn't say basic.
It does not say basic. You're completely right. Get anything you want with this card, and you still get the body, because you don't have to actually sacrifice this.
Yep.
That's great.
So, I do like it. Obviously, if you are using this to sacrifice your creatures away and then go ramp with it, you're not smashing it with probably big body, but still pretty cool. And it fuels itself. This card is fantastic.
I mean, it would be a big body if you think about it, because it's going to be big for all the creatures that you're sacrificing to him.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely does. Up next, we have Kudo, King Among Bears. This one actually is a bear. It's a green and a white for 2 mana. It's a legendary creature bear. It is a 2/2. Good job, Whiskey. You're hitting all the notes here. And it says other creatures have base power and toughness 2/2 and are bears in addition to their other types.
Let's go. I'm putting this in Discana, dude.
I kind of love this card.
I do too.
It's not other creatures you control.
Oh, even better.
So, like, your opponent's commander is now a 2/2 bear.
I love this. I love this card a lot, actually. This card I
They're
could see
they're
being played.
Ulamog.
Yeah. Oh my god.
It's a 2/2 bear. It still has Annihilator, but it's a
Yeah,
2/2 bear.
right. A little easier to block, but yeah. This is a cool card. I see this being played.
I see you probably playing this. Like, this seems like something that would be a little bit more on the Staxy side. Plus, it's a bear. Like, it reads everything that you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll see. Okay.
So moving on, we're going to talk about some of the cards that are specifically going to be from the Commander product for Modern Horizons 3. You're not going to find these ones for the main set. These are not going to be part of the actual like legitimate product for it. However, these are going to be cards from the Commander product that goes along with it. So there are 4 decks. So keep that in mind whenever it comes to the next couple that we're going to talk about. We have March from Velis Vel. This is 2 and a blue for a sorcery. It says choose a non-basic land type. Each land you control of that type becomes a copy of target creature you control until end of turn and gains haste until end of turn. This has a flashback of 4 and a blue.
Yikes. That could be like a finisher question mark?
This is such a weird card for mono blue.
It is.
Like, copying things has never really been outside of blue's wheelhouse, but like caring about your basic lands and making your basic lands creatures.
I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be mono blue because there's only 1 blue pip, so I mean, wouldn't be impossible to play somewhere else.
I'm just thinking about this from the perspective of just like being a blue card. I can see this kind of effect if it was like a blue green. Maybe that would make a little bit more sense to me, but just like purely from a blue standpoint,
Yeah.
blue doesn't really like interact with lands, at least not in this regard very often.
True, but I mean, all your non-basics now being able to turn into like your biggest threat and then smash in. Dude, imagine you turn all your things into like Breaker Horror. I'm just gonna swing it now.
Yeah, that is interesting. Up next, we have Planar Nexus. This is a land. It says it is every non-basic land type. Non-basic land types include cave, desert, gate, lair, locust, mine, power plant, sphere, tower, and Urzas.
Urza,
You can tap it. Yeah, it is. Urzas is a category. You can tap it for a colorless, or you can pay 1 and tap it to add 1 mana of any color.
Well, there you go. That last card we just talked about, Dave. Boom. I don't know what that does actually, but
It makes this a copy of something.
is this a good
Is
card
that good
though?
enough?
Yeah, I don't know. I was about to ask you the same thing. It's a filter. It's a mana fixer. I don't know. Are any of these card types relevant?
So, okay, let's break this one down. Do I care if this is a cave? Probably not. Do I care if it's a desert? Also, probably not. Most deserts, like, I guess I can maybe Ramunap Ruins and sacrifice this because this is a desert. Do I care if this is a gate?
Maybe.
So I guess it cares, like, for being a gate if you're playing Maze's End. Lair, I don't think this ever cares. Locust and Sphere, maybe? Mind Power Plant and Tower, that's just interesting to me. Why when you just go with, like, Urza's? Because I'm pretty sure it's Urza's Mine, Urza's Power Plant, Urza's Tower. I think those all have the Urza's type.
I don't get what this card does.
It's everything and nothing all at once.
Okay. Somebody in the comments, please enlighten me because it's going over my head.
I don't know if I have anything good to say about this card. It's cool. I don't know. I think that the artwork for this one definitely screams to me that this was like an Evolving Wilds at one point, and they were just like, "Hey, we need something else."
Looks like Evolving Wilds art. I'm not gonna lie.
Yep. All right, we're gonna move on. Up next, we have Final Act. This is 4 and 2 black for a sorcery. It says choose 1 or more. Destroy all creatures. Destroy all planeswalkers. Destroy all battles. Exile all graveyards, or each opponent loses all counters.
We talked about this card when it was first like spoiled, and I was like, oh my god, this looks crazy. It's the white like farewell, but then I kept reading it and I was like, is it though? It doesn't really hit all the relevant things that farewell hits.
It doesn't hit all the relevant stuff that Farewell hits, and it does destroy. However, it does do one thing that Farewell doesn't do.
Planeswalker.
Okay, it does 2 things that Farewell doesn't do.
Counters.
Yeah, I'm more so interested in that each opponent loses all counters. This is a way for you to be able to like interact with your opponent's experience counters.
True.
Or poison.
I don't know why you want to get rid of your opponent's poison, but I see what you're saying.
I mean, you could play around with this as like a political card of like, hey, I'm going to remove all 8 of your poison counters. That way, like, maybe we can work out a deal to help me out. I help you out. I don't know. Being able to nuke somebody's experience counters can be absolutely devastating because this is a way, and there's not very many ways for you to be able to interact with those. So I do love that this is at least like on a card. It coming down for 6 mana though, even with the flexibility, that's a lot.
It is. I mean, it's cool to see that they're kind of like tipping their hat to, yeah, battles exist, but I have yet to see battles be rampant yet. So maybe this is just kind of like a future proof.
Yeah, I kind of counted that as flavor text on this card.
Hey, but it gets rid of them. So when you're running your loot, the key to everything, you probably want to run some battles in there. So now you can clean them all up.
Hey, yeah, there you go. And the last card that we're going to talk about today, this is Siege Gang Lieutenant. This is 3 in a red for a creature goblin. It's a 2/2, and it has Lieutenant. It says at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, create 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. Those tokens gain haste until end of turn. It also says that you can pay 2 mana and sacrifice a goblin. Siege Gang Lieutenant deals 1 damage to any target.
We got Siege Gang Commander, Siege Gang.
I love this card, actually, a lot.
You're a
Being
Goblin
able to
player.
make well, not even necessarily just for goblins, but like my brain actually didn't go with goblins with this one, at least not immediately. My brain actually went with Perforos. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you're just gonna like make 2 1/1 red tokens, and plus like those do have haste. So if you have something like a Perforos in play, that's 4 damage that you're dealing. Plus they're now going to be able to potentially swing, and this can also sacrifice your goblins to deal 1 damage to clean up their little to clean up their creature, clean up their board, or just hit face directly. I can't remember the name of the card. I think it's Loyal Apprentice. This reminds me a lot of the 3 mana. Whenever like you go to your turn, if you control your commander, you make a 1/1 Thopter.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like this card more, but it does cost more too.
Yeah, that's a pretty crazy scenario that you just threw in front of me. So I do like this. Or if you're playing with like, what is it? Tremors? No, Earthquake? No,
Yeah, Impact Tremors.
Impact Tremors. Thank you. Ooh, that would be mean too.
Yep.
That's a good card.
That is going to do it for today. Official spoilers for this set do kick off on May 20th. There were a couple that ended up dropping beforehand, and of course, there's going to be some more that end up coming out on May 13th, along with the storyline for Modern Horizons 3. So make sure that you subscribe to this channel. We will be covering that information as well. Also, if you do want to get some extra content and support us even more so than that, right now on our screen, you'll see some of our patrons. So thank you in a special place in our hearts for all of our patrons out there. If you want to join what they are a part of and support us with that, you can find the link down below to that. You can also follow us on our other social medias. We are on Instagram, we are on TikTok, and we are also on Twitter. That's where we're going to be posting a lot of the commons or uncommons, some of the more popular cards that pop up that way that we don't discuss in these videos. Until next time, though, this has been Guys at Magic. Take it easy.
Bye.